Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lone Vic and today we'll be talking about how to set up and how to play Trekking the World. This is a 2 to 5 player game from Underdog Games about visiting a lot of interesting locations around the world on all the continents and collecting points for being the most efficient traveler. If you like the video and if you would like to support what I'm doing here on the channel, you can always click the like button, ring the notification bell, and click the subscribe to be notified about new videos on the channel. And well, if you want to ask about some rule questions or clarifications, there's the comment section for that. And now let's not delay anymore. Let's take a look at how to set up Trekking the World and how to play this game from 2 to 5 players. Okay guys, so in order to start setting up the game of Trekking the World, we need the game board in the middle of the table, as you can see, and each player chooses a color and takes a tracker meeple in that color and also a suitcase in that color. Be mindful that the suitcase have two sides. One side is for 2 players, as I've set it up right now, and the other side is for 3 or more players, so place those accordingly. You randomly pick a first player, and this first player places their tracker on any airport location on the board. So let's say if this is an orange one, let's place him on the United States here, on the North America, sorry, which is orange as well. And the blue one will place him whimsically on Asia, which is yellow. There can only be one tracker per airport, so that's how you'll be occupying those spaces on the board. The game provides you with a lot of souvenir cubes in 4 different colors, white, blue, red, and yellow, which correspond to those souvenir tracks on your suitcases. Now, you'll be placing these souvenirs on the board by drawing them from the provided bag, but before you place those souvenir tokens into the bag, you need to remove a few depending on the number of players. So if you're playing a 2-player game, you need to remove 3 souvenir tokens of each color from the game. If you are playing a 3-player game, you remove 1 red, 1 blue, 2 yellow, and 2 white souvenir cubes, and for 4 or 5 players, you don't remove anything. After you've removed the souvenirs, you throw all of the remaining ones into the bag, and you draw 1 souvenir cube for each of these spaces on the board. If this is a 2-player game, you're placing souvenir cubes only on those spaces that have no writing in them. If it's a 3-player game, you also include the 3+ spaces, and if it's a 4 or 5-player game, you also include the 4+ spaces. So give me a second while I fill everything up. Okay, I think all of the spaces are filled in right now. I can't see any empty ones for a 2-player game. So let's continue with the setup. The game also provides you with those most souvenir tiles, which you should place somewhere near the board, which I will do here. So you've got 4 for each color: red, white, yellow, and blue. And remember to place them on the correct side. So this side is for the 3+ players. I need to flip all of them to the 2-player side right now. Shuffle the region bonus cards, which have a number of victory points on them on the other side, and place 1 randomly face down on each of these region map spaces. The 4 remaining ones go back into the box. Shuffle all of the destination cards that the game comes with. Place the deck somewhere near the board and uncover the first 4 destination cards. Take the tray with the 3 and 5-point victory tokens and place this tray so that the 3-point victory tokens are above the 1 but last card on the right, and the 5 victory tokens are at the rightmost card in the uncovered row. Take the A and B journey card stacks and select 1 B card, randomly or not, depending on you, and 1 A card with which you'll be playing the game, and place them on the designated spaces on the board. Finally, take the Trek cards, shuffle this deck, place it somewhere near the board, and deal 3 track cards to each player, and those cards are kept secret for all the players. And now you are ready to start playing Tracking the World, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's go to the game overview. So in a game of Tracking the World, you will be collecting victory points marked by those compass icons from various places, either from visiting these locations, which you'll be traveling to on the map, or from collecting the souvenir cubes and gaining those columns that are marked with victory points. Once a column is filled out, you will have these victory points at the end of the game, or sometimes from collecting these region bonuses on the board. You'll be traveling around all of those spaces, collecting those cubes, and at the end of the game, who has the most points basically wins. And that's it. The game is played over a series of rounds. The game end triggers, as it said here, when the 5th region bonus tile is claimed. So once 5 of these are taken by players, or a player collects 5 destination cards. So one player has 5 of those, and that's when the game end triggers. Okay, so what can a player do during their player turn? So as you can see here, at the start of your turn, you may move from an airport to airport for free. So if you are starting at an airport, you can move to any free airport and start your track from there if you are at an airport at the beginning of your turn. But if not, or you don't want to do this, you have to perform a move action, and this is an action that's marked as required. And you are using the track cards to move. Now let's take a look at those track cards. As you can see, they have two information. They have a numeral value and they have an icon. So in order to move, which is a required action, you need to announce which location you are moving to. So for example, I will say that my tracker, the red player right now, will be moving to Old Havana along these routes. And after you announce it, you have to play 1 or more track cards from your hand with a combined value that exactly equals the number of connections separating you from the location, and then you discard this card. So if I'm moving to Old Havana, I need to play exactly 3 points, no more, no less, because you have to use up all of the points from the cards. So I'm discarding a 3-point card and I'm moving 1, 2, 3. If there is a cube with a souvenir on the location, I'm collecting the cube and adding it to the respective row. And I'm placing my cards back down, and I'm in Old Havana right now. Remember that you do not collect souvenir cubes on the locations you are only passing through, but only from the location on which you land at the end of your move. And you can only skip this move action, which is an obligatory one, if you have no track cards in your hand, or if all your paths are blocked by other players. Because if a player is, for example, standing here, you wouldn't be able to move to Niagara Falls through this way. You would have to go around. So you can't even travel through spaces which contain other players' meeples on them. This way you can block other players' movements. There are 2 more things that you need to know about the move action, and this is connected with the cube collection that happens when you land on your destination space. The first thing is that if, for example, me as the red player right now would collect a second white cube and cover this space with a star, I would get this tile that says that I have the most postcards right now. And this happens only when somebody crosses the space marked with the star. And I keep this until the end of the game. And at the end of the game, this will give me 4 victory points. But if I have 2 postcard souvenirs only here, and during the game, the green player collects a 3rd cube of postcards, so they have more than me, then they take this tile away from me because now they have more postcards. And the same goes for all the other souvenir tiles with the most word on them. And as you can see, they have different point values, because some of them are easier to collect than others. But this effect only triggers once somebody crosses this star space. So if you have only one postcard, that doesn't mean that you can collect this most tile. And the second thing about collecting souvenirs is that if with your move you manage to collect the last souvenir on the continent, you automatically also get this region token, and you can check secretly how many points you got from it and add it to your collection. And nobody can take away this region token from you. And remember that collecting this region bonuses in a number of 5 will trigger the end of the game. So emptying the continents from souvenirs is getting you closer to the end of the game. The last thing is that you have to notice also those connections that happen here. So from here, you can also move with 1 point to here and from here to here. So remember about this, that the world wraps around in those 2 points. And that's it for the required move action that you always have to do unless you don't have any cards. And then after you move on your turn, you have to choose one of the 3 options that are here. So you either draw 2 new trek cards and add them to your hand, or you take a tour, or you go on a journey. And let me explain all of those 3 steps separately. Now, one more thing that I'm sorry about is that I forgot during the setup that you need to display 4 trek cards from the deck face up near the board as well. So very sorry for this slight mix-up. I will mention it in the subtitles in the beginning, in the setup chapter of my video. But yes, those 4 cards need to be displayed. And when you are choosing one of the 3 options to do as the second action in your player turn, if you choose the draw 2 option, that means that you select 2 cards from the display to add it from your hand, or you can also take the top deck cards from the stack. And if you take a card from the display, you immediately fill it in, and that means that you can also take the newly uncovered card. And if the deck ever runs out, reshuffle the discards, and that's it. So if your hand is running low, that's the action that you usually do. The second thing is that you can take a tour. And taking a tour means that you want to collect one of those cards over here. Your tracker must be at the same location that the card is at. So right now we've got Mount Fuji, which is here, Zanjaye, or however it is pronounced, which is here, the Sagrada Familia here, and the Serengeti, which is here. So if a tracker is at any of those locations, they can take a tour action, and they have to spend your trek cards with those symbols that match the symbols on the cards, and they collect the cards for them, getting the victory points at the end of the game. If you collect the card that's the 3rd or the 4th one, you additionally get the tokens from the tray above. So after you decide to take a tour because you're at one of the matching locations and you can discard from your hand cards with the symbols that are matching the card from this location, you, let's say hypothetically that this happened, collect this card, move all of the remaining cards 1 step to the right, and you uncover a new card. And that's the take a tour action. And the last thing that you can do is journey. For this, if you want to select this action, you go into the journey log and you can choose one of those 2 effects that are here. But in order to use the effect, you have to reveal 2 identical colored cards from your hand, or 2 for here, and you perform one of these actions. And those actions are different because you've seen in the setup that there is a deck of those, but they're very simple, and I don't think that they merit a lot of explanation. If you pay 2 identical cards here, you can take a tour for 1 icon fewer, so you can automatically collect a card. If you can also spend more trek cards with ignoring 1 icon and get additional free victory points. And here you can move to any airport and draw 3 cards from the deck. So pretty self-explanatory. This is it. This is what happens around your round of play. And remember, the end game triggers once the 5th bonus region is claimed or a player collects 5 destination cards. And when the game end is triggered, the player who triggers the end finishes out their turn and then the game ends automatically. So there is no one final round or nothing like that. And players reveal any face down cards or tokens they have, and then they score for the following things. The most souvenir tiles collected will get you the points if you have the tile at the end of the game because you have the most of this souvenir. The region bonus tokens you've collected at the end of the game will give you points. All the victory point tokens collected from maybe the effects of journey logs or for taking the cards from the last 2 spots. Then the destination cards that you collected will give you points, and also the souvenir sets. So you check the highest number filled column that you have with all the souvenirs filled, and this is how many points you get. So hypothetically, if the green player has, or the blue player has this column filled in, so he has this, and this column filled in, he will only get 10 points, not 10 plus 6 plus 3. So only the highest number that you manage to fill in. You tally it up and the player with the most victory points wins the game. And if there are any players tied for the most victory points, the player with the most souvenir cubes breaks the tie. And if both players who are tied have the same amount of souvenir cubes on their suitcases, then they share the victory. Okay guys, this is it. This is the explanation. If you have any questions about the rules, feel free to use the comment section and I will be sure to answer all of those. If not, then remember to support my channel, what I'm doing here, by clicking the like button, hitting the subscribe and ringing the notification bell to be notified about new videos. And for now, this is all from Tracking the World and from me, Lone Vic. I hope you're having a very nice day and, well, see you soon in another of my videos here on the channel. Bye bye.